Okay, so here we are again. We're going to do the bird. Like I said, I imported my own drawing of the bird. I drew this freehand, and you can trace if you want. It's not important, all right? So let's say you traced it. The problem here is that I have a lot of gaps. So there are many ways now to get that bird. Let's start with the path. Trace bitmap right here. Okay, we're going to use the defaults and just hit OK. It's working. Now you see, we just traced that bird, but there are way too many gaps. So we're going to try it again. Now make sure you mark the drawing. I'm going to pump the threshold way up to 840. You can do an update. See how it gets darker? Let's do that again. So it's working, and there it is. It traced it. Now, in order to use the bucket tool, we're going to have to close all those gaps. There's a lot of them still, and we're going to have to look through the whole drawing like this and close all of the gaps. So what I did was I went with the pencil tool and I just closed all of these gaps like that. Okay? So now we have one right here where I have closed all the gaps already. You see that? I had to redo everything. Let's move that back. So let's group all of that stuff. Control G. So for the sake of brevity, I've filled all of the gaps, and I'm not going to show you that. Now, you just fill all the gaps with the pencil tool. Then you get your bucket fill. Let's use this color down here. Do you see how I just changed the fill of that? Let's use our bucket tool, and the threshold is pretty high. Let's see what happens. Nothing happens. Let's turn the threshold down. Hit it again. Ah, there we go. And then we hit it again, and there we go. Get your grabber. There's that one, and there's that one. You see how that works? So then I just put a fill and a, let's get your format here, your fill and format here, and I put a stroke like that, and that's how I got this one down here. I optimized that one a bit, so let's use that one instead. So I just wanted to show you how I made that. We have to put this down here by the wing. You see this part right here? I forgot to do that. Let's rotate that a little bit. Let's put it on there like that, and also give it a stroke. So now let's mark them all and group them, and let's see what happens when we use our filter. Before we do that though, I want to put it over here and get it to the right size. So go to the page view. Well, let's zoom out a bit. Okay, control drag. You can use any one of these. Control drag. Yeah, okay. Control drag. It's not perfect, okay? Like I said, if we had a lot of time, I could make this exactly like the drawing. The point is not to just copy a drawing here. I want to show you how you can make your own awesome book covers. Okay, so we're just copying this one for experimentation's sake, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We could make it perfect if we wanted to make an hour-long video here. Alright, now we're going to use that filter again. I'm going to put him like there, just about, yeah, just about there. Okay, what was that filter? Filter, bevels, glowing metal. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, actually. Now, we will have to do a final step here and export and then use Photoshop or something like that. But I want to make that arrow first. I'm going to make this thing as close as I can to the right position. And now I want to make that arrow. Okay, so let's make that arrow. Let's zoom in on there. Now I noticed my computer was slowing down. Look at, see how it's slowing down? So what we can do is mark all these objects. Use our F1. Mark it. Let's mark that one. And let's remove the filters, because filters really slow down Inkscape. So now it will start working faster. We can add the filters later again. Okay, let's make the arrow. What we're going to do is get our Bezier tool and just draw a line. Click. And just about there. Click. And hit enter. So we got a black line. Now let's put an end marker on there. Start markers and end markers. Let's put arrow 1 start. Now you see how that was backwards? Let's put it somewhere where we can see it first. Right there. Okay? We want arrow 1 left end. There we go. Now the end marker, arrow 1 left end. There we go. The problem with this now is we can't change the colors because it's not an object, it's a path. So let's take the whole thing and stroke to path. Now it's an object with a fill. It's not just a path. So now when we hit the fill colors, look what happens. Now this is the strange thing. The markers have a stroke, but the object doesn't, the middle line. Let's get rid of that stroke. So now it's all one color, right? But now we have this problem here. Okay, let's take a look at that. Now use our node tool. So we have 3 objects now, basically. Let's move them like that. Move it down. Well, let's zoom out a bit. Look at what it's doing there. That's not cool. Okay, use the node tool again. So let's just move the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Let's zoom out again just with using the minus button, and let's group all of these things. Yeah, okay, Control G. I just grouped all of these 3 things together. Now let's see what happens when we hit stroke. Yeah, okay. We should turn the stroke down a bit. There we go, something like that. Okay, let's see what happens when we use our famous filter here. Bevels, glowing metal. It's a little bit too fancy. What if we take the stroke away? It looks a little bit better. Let's just take the filters off. Remove filters. Okay, let's move it back to where we want it. About there. It's too small. So we're going to hit Control drag again. Control drag. That's about how we want it. We want to bring it to the top, right here. Bring to bottom, bring to top. Okay, let's put that stroke back in. This is annoying because the arrowheads are not using the same stroke as the body of the arrow. What can we do about that? Okay, now it is. Yeah, Inkscape isn't perfect. Let's leave it like that. But of course we want to bring the bird all the way to the top. Okay, now you'll notice he has to go over the tail but under the beak. This, my friends, we are going to fix later with Photoshop. This is really annoying and much easier to do in Photoshop because we have to Photoshop the feathers into the bird anyway, and that is just too time consuming with Inkscape. So let's go to our page view. Now we've got a really good basis. So let's now apply the filters again. I'm going to take the stroke out of this one. No stroke. I'm going to mark all of these objects. So you see how I hold the shift key and then I mark all of the objects. You have to hold the shift key. Let's hit the filters again. Bevels, glowing metal. That's okay. Let's complete it with a black rectangle. Let's color it black and send it all the way to the bottom. We have to use the grabber, send it all the way to the bottom. Now you'll notice we still have the old cover. Let's get that out of here. Okay, go to the page view. There's our cover. You'll notice the circles are too big, right? It doesn't matter. There's two things we can do now. We can export the page or export a selection. File, export bitmap. Shift Control E. So I can export the page now, the page, or the selection. So I have to select something, so I'm going to select my black rectangle. Selection. 90 dpi. Oh, that's going to be pretty small, but that's okay for a thumbnail, right? Okay, so Eric Desktop. I'm going to rename it here, and you always have to have this PNG here. That's just a quirk. You have to have PNG there. You have to name it yourself. So cover 1, 90 dpi, export. But like said, we're going to do the feathers and everything else in Photoshop. So we're going to export a big one too, 300 dpi. And that's really not that big. I'm going to bump it up. I want something, because remember, Amazon's guidelines and also Smashwords guidelines, they want an image that's at least 1400 pixels high. So I'm going to put 2500 pixels here. We can always bump it down later. 577 dpi, that's fine. But now we know we've got it big enough for Amazon and Smashwords. Okay, export selection. Export. Oh, got to rename it. Thank you for the heads up, Inkscape. Cover 2, or big. So now we're exporting the covers to the desktop. That's taking a while. Very good. Let's go to the desktop and see what we've got. Cover 1 and cover 2. So that, my friends, is as far as I care to go in Inkscape. This is the small cover. It's a little pixelated. How about the big cover? Whoa, yeah. That's 577 dpi. So that doesn't look too bad. Now, as you can see, you can play a lot with Inkscape and get some really good results. Now I'm going to go take this high resolution export from Inkscape and touch up the bird a bit and the feathers and stuff. But as you can see, the lettering is great. It's razor sharp. Everything is razor sharp. And we have a great cover here. And we could have played around for hours with the filters and stuff in Inkscape to get it even better. But now I'm going to take this and spruce it up in Photoshop. Because as you can see, if we enlarge this, you can see how the filter made some weird designs and stuff. So I'm going to spruce this up in Photoshop now.